doing a video on the Half-Life 1 chapters. We'll do Half-Life 2 and the episodes in a later video, but for today we're just doing the Half-Life 1 chapters, not including Blue Shift and Opposing Force. So, starting off with Black Mesa Inbound. Good intro to the game, really shows off the technological advancements that the Gold Source had with set pieces moving and animations and stuff like that. Really interesting, a little long, maybe a little bit repetitive, but it sets up a nice setting for the game and the facility in general that I think is done very well and not really done in any other video game to this extent and in this way, where you can see the environment that you usually wouldn't see. You don't see these areas again later in the game, even though that'd be very cool. You don't. It just sets up like a grand feeling to the facility. Like this place is huge, and you won't see half of this place. So it sets up a I don't want to say sequel bait. That's kind of stupid, but I think in Opposing Force you see some of the intro locations later, but I think the way it's done is just very, very interesting and I think effective. So, good. It's not good on replay, can be a little bit repetitive, but that's to be expected because I'm sure it wasn't intended in that manner. But good, very good. Alright, so next we have Anomalous Materials. Very good chapter. I like the lockers. I like the scientists walking around doing their mundane task. It's got a great atmosphere and one that I feel like that isn't really replicated. Sorry, in any other video game, with the exception of maybe Undertale, where it feels like the environment is really living around you, because it feels real. It feels, despite being a really old game and being a little cartoonish and goofy, but yeah, I feel like when this came out, it probably had a profound impact on the way storytelling was in video games. And I think the way it's done is very professional and very interesting, as well as being entertaining and not just boring walk around and find the suit. But I really like it. I really like it. Next up is Unforeseen Consequences. Very good chapter. I think it sets up a nice dramatic environment and the feeling here of what have I done, and it sets the mood that this is a big deal and you gotta fix it right this minute. And the lab is falling apart, and I feel like this chapter has a sense of rush and needing to eliminate the problem as soon as possible that is kind of lost throughout the rest of the chapters. I think, with the exception of we've got hostiles and surface tension, that emotion and that mood isn't really replicated again with that panic and that, well, I feel like residue processing can kind of do that because you lose your weapons there, but in the way that they set it up and turn it on its head from being a spick and span, perfect, no problem lab to being complete chaos because of the resonance cascade, which is very interesting and I think done very well. So I will put it right under anomalous materials. Alright, so next up is Office Complex. One of my favorite chapters. Um, I feel like what I said about unforeseen consequences can be said about Office Complex as well, but not in the same way. Unforeseen consequences is a lot more drastic. Like, you feel a lot more vulnerable here. But in the office complex, because it's not set up before, you don't see it before and after, but it's not too different other than the part where you get out of the elevator at the start and there's electricity and chaos all over the place. It's not that chaotic, and I think this is lowered and lowered and lowered throughout as the chaos amps up. The little parts where it just feels like the building is crumbling in on itself is like the idea of that is kind of not done again for a long time. But I think Office Complex is probably strongest in its gameplay, which it's just probably the first time I've mentioned gameplay, but yeah, it's this part where the gameplay actually starts to kick in and the game becomes fun and you get really into it. I remember this is probably my favorite chapter when I first played the game, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, I'll put it right above. That's tough. I think I'll put it in classic. All right, next up is We've Got Hostiles. Probably another one of my favorite chapters from this game. But before I get into that, I just want to say, sorry if my voice sounds weird. It's got a bit of a sickness, cold right now, but uh, and my microphone's not too great, as you can probably hear. But hope the video comes out okay, sounding okay, no like audio problems, but nothing too bad. But enough of that. We've got Hostiles, very good. The environment it sets up here is very cool, like very industrial, uh, warehouse feeling, and it does feel like an invasion. Like you don't have any say in this, and I feel like probably the most fun part of this chapter is trying to save all the scientists that the HECU forces kill. Is very difficult because I kind of suck at video games, but very fun. So I'll put this in classic. That's all I really have to say about it. It's more of a gameplay driven chapter than like a environment and storytelling chapter. But what it does right, it does really well, and I think it's where the game gets really good. And yeah, I honestly might even put it above Office Complex. Yeah, I will. All right, it's not moving. There you go. Next up is Blast Pit. It's very, very good. I think the parts where you have to sneak around through the pit is a bit annoying. It's frustrating, and it's kind of, uh, what's the word? I'll probably remember in a second, but it's good. I think the parts running back and forth is a little bit, so yeah, again, I can't catch the word, but, uh, mundane. There we go. It's not a fun task to go back and forth and into and out to, because I remember I didn't understand how it worked when I first played it. So it's just a bit frustrating. But on replay, after knowing where to go, it's fun. And I think it gets a little bit old, the back and forth with these. The next chapter too, we'll kill the big monster by going and turning on this machine and turn that on, and then boom, and next chapter. But I think it's good. I think it's good. And I like the vastness of this chapter. Uh, the last 3 or 4 chapters have been in one specific place. This one spread across multiple maps and in this big nuclear plant, essentially. And I think that's very, very interesting. That change between feels very epic. So. Alright, right here in the bottom of Incredible. Next one is Power Up. Good chapter, very short. I used to be terrified of that, Gargantua just chasing me around. It's the same chapter, like, because they're front to back, very similar chapters. Uh, you see the monster kill some people, then go turn on this machine and that machine, and the monster explodes. They're very similar, and to be back to back is kind of I don't know. It's not bad. I don't want to fault it. I want to think about it individually. Individually, I can't talk. Again, yeah, I want to think about it as its own chapter. If I was gonna play this and this was my first one, I'd still enjoy it. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. I don't really have anything else to say besides that. So, good, right there. Next chapter, On a Rail, everyone's favorite. I know this chapter is hated. Everyone hates this chapter, or most people hate this chapter, but I actually do enjoy it. I think it's fun. I don't think it's the best chapter out there, but I think the part with the rocket and the setup to that, although it's never used again, and I think that's kind of a problem with it, but I think the way it's done and the environment of the Underground Railroad system is kind of cool. It's darker than all the other chapters, kind of feels like mysterious. Like you're not supposed to be here, and this mission is highly secret. But or yeah, I think the way it's done, and I like the lab part with the rocket later is very cool. And yeah, it feels like more of a important chapter in the game. But I think the way it's done could be better. But I don't really have any strong complaints about it, and I don't have the same feelings that people do when they talk about it. Like I don't fault it for its kind of repetitive gameplay. I find it a little bit fun to ride around on the cart, but I get it's kind of annoying to constantly stop, open the gate, stop, open the gate. But I don't fault it for that, and I'm gonna put it at the top of good. All right, next up is Apprehension. Unfortunately, I'm having to re-record this one, so that's the reason it's already there. But Uh, Apprehension is really good. I like the parts with the crossbow, and the water parts are really good. I feel like the problem with Apprehension is kind of in its pacing. It's very fast-paced, and that's kind of a break from the slower pace of On a Rail. But I can't fault it for that. As I said before, I'm going individually with these. Yeah, it's really good. The parts with the Black Ops are really good. And I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, the knockout scene. That's good too. Yeah, I can't fault this for anything. It's kind of forgettable, and all the parts in it aren't. It's the the meeting between those parts that makes it that way. So yeah, very good chapter. Very good chapter. And uh, next up is residue processing. Residue processing is a kind of platforming based chapter. Since you lost all your weapons, you're left with only like the crowbar and like your wits, essentially. I don't, that's really corny, but uh, not much to go with there, which is kind of annoying. This was my least favorite chapter when I first played the game because I kept getting soft locked, excuse me. Um, But yeah, as I've replayed it, it's enjoyable. Little bit difficult again with the soft locking, but yeah, I can't fault it for much. It's really good. Next up is questionable ethics. Yeah, very good chapter. I like the part with the Tau gun, kind of messed up but funny. Uh, very explosive and entertaining, like action gameplay run, but uh, you get your real task in this one. You get your understanding as a player of what to do and how you can do it. The scientists tell you do this, do that, do this, do that. You're trying to get to the Lambda Center, right above Blast Pit. Next up, surface tension. Like I said, get to the Lambda complex as quick as possible, and don't let the military get you. Like, that's the basic essentials of these next chapters is action, action, action. It's not much of storytelling anymore. It's just don't get blown up by that tank outside. But I think the way it's done here, especially with the mine trip mine part, it instills a feeling of existential doom and like this is so grand. What a force I'm against. How am I going to be able to do this? There's all this army, and then there's just this scientist. There's this useless scientist. And I feel like there's a lot more personal character interaction with the HECU, like the vent. I love that vent part where they shoot open the vent, and when you're the pipes and he throws the C4 package into the pipe. It's just a lot of like tiny things in this chapter, but also very grand things like tank battles and the cliffside part. It's just a great chapter, action-wise and gameplay-wise. So, right, I'll put it above We've Got Hostiles. So next up is Forget About Freeman, is the underground part where the building or the parking lot, I think is what it is collapsing on you. I think that's pretty cool. But it gets old quick because I hate those snarks. I hate killing those things. It's a pain. But I think it's done fairly well past that part because I do not like that part. But once you get back up to ground level and there's more HECU battles and stuff like that, it gets good again. And I like that. So, put it right under apprehension. Next up is Lambda Core. Good chapter. A little bit kind of confusing to find your way around. I didn't see to pay attention to the markings clearly on the wall of where to go for the first time I played it, but it's good. I feel like I don't want to say it's rushed. It's kind of it's long. It's for such a short and small like setting. It's long and feels kind of drawn out, but it also feels rushed in the way that you get like 5 of the same enemies throughout the entire level. You get like 20 something grunts and a bunch of Vortigons. And I get that, but they just kind of feel strewn about. Like it's obvious that oh, I'm gonna walk into this room and there's gonna be like 50 grunts in there, and I'm gonna die the second I walk in. So I just wish there was more of a strategy than go and turn on the Lambda like reactor machine or whatever it's called, and I think it's good. I think it's good. I'll put it um right above apprehension or under apprehension. Next up is Zen. All right, so Zen. I feel that it's a bit overhated. I think there's a lot of problems with it, but I think the environment is really interesting, and I think it's kind of freaky and feels a lot more extraterrestrial and mysterious than the way it's done in Black Mesa. And I know a lot of people will disagree with that. I'm not saying it's better. I don't think it's better. I just think the environment is a lot more innovative, and I feel like like Black Mesa is just like average space shooter number 6, and this one feels a lot more mysterious and ominous. And I think the way they do that is effective, and I think it's interesting. So, um, I don't like the platforming, and I think that the long jump module could use some work, but I'm saying use some work like they're gonna update this game. Oh, guys, have you ever heard of this game called Half-Life? It's only like 25 years old, but um, it 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 that's rough. I don't know if I should put it in good or average. It it's good. I think because this is just the first map, nothing really happens. You jump on like 4 platforms and go down and teleport. So, can I even call this a chapter? What else happens here? It, it it's not even a chapter. This little map, I think maybe one map is maybe about 5 minutes long. Maybe I'm forgetting, maybe it's 2 maps, but I'm pretty sure that Zen is one map. If not one map or two small maps. Um, uh, Average. Gonarch's Lair. Again, I think the mood that is set in Zen is pretty good. I like the textures used as well, but the Gonarch as a boss is fairly underwhelming. Um, I find it to be a little bit too long. I think it's kind of hard to tell if your shots are landing, and uh, doesn't feel very like powerful. It kind of just feels like chasing a big giant creature around for 10 minutes and then it explodes after like 5,000 shots. I think it's fine. I'll put it on average under Zen. Next up is Interloper. Fairly good chapter. Probably the best one in Zen. Um, with the exception of the part at the start where you have to get on the top of those like manta ray things. I don't like that part, but oh, I forgot. This chapter's, I think this is the longest chapter in Zen. Yeah, it is. There's the part with the Gargantua as well. Kind of underwhelming to go from one boss battle to another, but well, can't really call the Gargantuan a boss battle, but yeah, it's good. I'll put it on bottom of good. A little bit frustrating to get through some of the parts with such low health because it starts getting a lot more difficult around this area, but yeah, I think it's fair. And finally, we have the Nihilanth, or Nihilanth. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's probably Nihilanth, but this one is very epic, very creepy. Actually, I think the Nihilanth or whatever, however you pronounce it, is very interesting and kind of creepy creature, and it's not really explained what exactly it is. And I think that uncertainty is really interesting. It's kind of a quick one, and other than like being teleported to those little platforming sections, it's not that bad, and I can beat it pretty quick. But that doesn't mean it's bad, and just because it's short doesn't mean it's bad. So I'd say it's bottom of good. Alright, that'll do it for today's video, and I will do the rest of the chapters for Half-Life 2 and its episodes in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have a good one. Bye.